Huh?
No.
Oh, anyway, as Irving and I were saying, you and I clearly had the better movie tonight.
When we left the theater for First Man, I was like, it was meh. I was just kidding. It was only because I heard people walking behind us. They were like, it was okay. And I was like, really?
Right. No, so when I took you, because you were also at First Man with us as well, and Goosebumps 2 was the first movie that we had first, and when I said to you afterwards, I was like, okay, well, Irving and I will do ours for First Man, and I'll shoot you a text when we're done, and you're like, why? I'm like, so we can talk about Goosebumps. You're like, oh right, we did go see that earlier. It feels like it was so long ago. I liked you after First Man, though, when you were like, again, going back to First Man before we get to Goosebumps. When you were like, I don't know, if you had gotten back from the moon and like I was your wife, I wouldn't sit there like...
If I was your wife?
If, in this hypothetical universe where you're my wife.
Yeah, at the end. They just kind of like... It's like, I would be like, oh God, are you okay?
Are you okay? Are you diseased? I'm so glad you're back.
I know. I was like, I'm like they're about to like sign divorce papers or something.
All right, so you liked the first Goosebumps movie, right?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say, well, you like First Man, right? I was like, again, back to First Man. Yeah, no, I liked it because I saw it over the summer while I was babysitting or taking care of some kids for a nanny job over the summer.
Yeah.
And it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like, well, I like the books, so.
Yeah, you probably read a lot more of those than I did. I mean, they were popular when I was a kid, and there were a few of them I read. I might have read like the first 3, and there were other R.L. Stein books that I read. I read
Fear Street. Or,
is that what it was? Yeah, I did. Yeah, he did Fear Street, but I didn't read. I don't think I read any Fear Street, but I read Babysitter 1 and 2, and. A few of the Goosebumps ones.
Goosebumps was a little bit for younger.
Well, no, they were popular with kids in my class. Like I was of right age when they came out, but
Fear Street was kind of for the older kids.
Fear Street I think got big when I was in like 5th grade, but I was just reading. I was allowed to watch R-rated stuff. I was allowed to read more R-rated material than that. A lot of other kids in my class really weren't, but I was. But so I read more, King than I did R.L. Stein. But I did read some R.L. Stein. I just read more of other things. And going back on it, it's like, yeah, you know what? That stuff was fine.
It's like Stephen King for kids.
No, a lot of it was, a lot of it actually was pretty fun. What little of it I read. Yeah, I mean, I would probably maybe look at some of it at now, maybe more so than I did back then, quite honestly. But the first movie came out, and we reviewed it, and I think I recall being kind of iffy about the first movie, but again, like... Thinking back, I was like, you know what? It was fine. Like,
Yeah, I remember calling you, because I think you were out of town when I saw it when I was nannying, and I was like, hey, I just saw this movie. Did you like it? And you're like, yeah, it was okay. And I was like, I actually really liked it.
Right. I think...
It was a fun little, like, a Halloween movie for kids, and if you're a fan of the books, you would probably get a kick out of it. And I also watched the show quite a bit when it was on.
And I didn't.
In the... like mid-late 90s.
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't really watch much of the show. But the first movie, I was like, maybe I was a little hard on it in the review for the first one. But thinking back, I'm like, it was fine. I think I was probably thinking more so about comparing it to stuff I grew up with and liked better, like Gremlins and things like that. But no, Goosebumps was perfectly entertaining. This one, what did you think of this movie?
It was cheesy.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely not as good as the first one. I thought it was pretty cheesy. It was kind of like it reminded me more of the show.
Sure.
Because it was just kind of like really cheesy and kind
Mm-hmm.
of lame sometimes, and the acting wasn't that great. And in the show, the acting wasn't that great either. I mean, the bigger kid was fine.
Yeah, no, the kids those two main kids, like, I was like, you know what,
The
they're
girl
fine.
or the two boys?
Oh, the girl I'll get to in a second, but the two boys, I was like, you know what, on paper, this reads like, you know, the poor man's Stranger Things on their way to write Captain Underpants. But in the movie, I was like, you know what, these two kids, like, they're working with kind of thin material right here, but they're doing perfectly fine.
The plot's very thin.
Now the girl, it's not that the girl was bad. She really wasn't, honestly. But one thing that was distracting about her was always, and her and a couple other characters too, seeming much older than what they were playing.
Well, the girl especially.
There was one part where she's working in the library at the school, and her boyfriend comes in to talk to her, and it looks like she's just an employee there, and not a student.
I think I remember in high school, though, that at least when I was growing up in high school, sometimes students would work.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, you could do that when I was in high school, too. What I'm saying is she doesn't look like a student who is just volunteering here to work at the school library. She looks like she is an employee of the school who is getting a little too close to one of the students. But actually, that's all right, too, because he's saying, I've had this book checked out since sophomore year. And he looks old enough to be like, 10 years ago? Neither one of you should be here right now.
Well, they also go to a club, too. Like,
well, I mean, sure.
Club.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're like supposed to be 16 or something.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, you've seen Saved by the Bell when they got fake IDs and they went into the club.
The kind of club they went to, though, it was, I think they just wanted to see a band, or am I thinking of Freaks and Geeks? But but this club was like kind of a rager. Kind of.
Yeah.
Is that the right term?
A rager?
A rager?
Well, I am hip with all the lingo nowadays.
Or-
You saw the movies I had to watch for Musical March in September. Slap me some skin.
Okay, I don't know.
A raver.
A rave?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't do that stuff. I still don't.
Sure, yeah. No, we go to bed way too early for that.
I go to bed way earlier than you do.
You do. I'm like, I'm not going to bed now. It's like noon.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
That's not true.
I'm kidding.
I didn't want to go to bed last night at like 7:30.
No, too early.
Well, I didn't want to go to bed. I wanted to lay down in our bedroom.
Oh, yeah. So...
Anyways.
Yeah, so we gotta have YouTube on for a few hours before we fall asleep.
A little look into our life.
It's exciting. We got out of the house today.
Oh, we go out of the house.
Well, we did earlier to go get lunch.
And then we played Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyways, Goosebumps.
Thursday. No, yeah, so Goosebumps. You know what? There's some things that this movie does fine. A lot of the first couple of acts just have to do with the kids finding Slappy the dummy. A lot of that I was enjoying. How at first he kind of seems like he's their friend and he's doing their homework for him and doing their science project for him. And then he's in school and he does like goofy things to the bullies. He gets the girl's boyfriend who cheated on her. He causes an accident on him. Mm-hmm. You know what? A lot of that I was actually really, really enjoying. I was like, this is like, he is kind of spooky in some shots.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I was terrified of him when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I can see it. Like, there were some shots where I was like, they're doing a good job of filming him to make him simultaneously, like, funny and kind of creepy in some shots.
He's, like, the most popular character of the series.
Yeah.
And he was kind of what people kind of wanted to see in the first one.
He is the best character in this one, too.
And that's what people wanted to see, and they knew that. And they gave Goosebumps fans what they would like to see. Even though I would like to have seen a lot more different characters. Slappy, what?
No, I agree with you.
Like, from the books, but they did do original characters, like Halloween design, or Halloween decorations.
Oh.
Like, I guess that's a little more original.
They have the haunted mask in there, too.
Yeah.
The haunted mask shows up.
Was the haunted mask the one where the mask becomes her face?
Yeah, where the girl has the mask and then it, like, takes
what
over.
I thought that was gonna be it, but it wasn't. I thought it was gonna be, like, more resembling the mask from the show.
I mean, I took it as a nod to the book.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, oh, cool. And then it kind of turned out to be just, like, some sort of Igor kind of character.
Right.
I was just like,
maybe you remember more of that book than I do, but no. So when it was like this sort of like horror weird science, but with a ventriloquist dummy, like I was actually enjoying a lot of that. I was like, you know what? Some of this isn't as fun as the first one, but it's like, this is an interesting direction to take this. It's not bad. There were some weird things about it. Did you notice a weird thing with some of the makeup in this movie?
Like,
not the monster makeup. A lot of that I actually thought was really good.
Oh yeah,
there were some.
It was practical.
Yeah, there was a lot of effects work that I thought was well done in the movie.
You mean like eye makeup for like the
on
girls?
like. Maybe it was just me, but I was getting distracted, and I know this is a little thing. Like, kids who are going to go see this movie aren't going to complain about this, but like no, when it was makeup on the actors, like the bully, the girl, even a couple of the kids, the mom. The lighting was so weird, it just looked oddly airbrushed in a lot of scenes, and it was throwing my ass off. I was like, I know this is Sony Animation making this. They just smear green on people's face, like, don't worry, we'll animate the acting in later. Like, it was... I'm assuming I'm probably the only one who noticed this.
I didn't notice that.
I did, and it was weird. Like, I was like, is the projector turned up too bright? Is the movie just shot this way?
Maybe they kind of wanted to make it look like a TV show.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing. It made it look kind of cheap. But then, so, alright, like, all this stuff with Slappy happens, and I was enjoying... to get into some not really a spoiler, he's credited in the movie. Yeah, Jack Black is in this movie, but it is kind of just like an extended cameo. And I sort of enjoyed that as much as I did love him in the first movie. And I love Jack Black, but I was like, you know what, that makes it feel different, because otherwise it would just kind of be the same thing again.
Yeah.
Whereas now... it's these kids having to figure it out for themselves, and Jack Black shows up later, and there's even some funny jokes about that, like, I'm here to save the day, but it's already...
my typewriter.
Yeah, but it's already the day has already kind of been saved.
Yeah, that would have made it too much like the same, from the first one. If he was in it a lot.
Yeah, so things with Slappy I was enjoying. Like, I was worried at first when one of the first people we see in this movie is Ken Jeong. Do I even need to say what kind of character he's playing? What do you think he's playing in this movie? Like, so he's the goofy, oh my god, I love Goosebumps! Like,
how old are you?
How old is he?
I know. That's what I meant. Not you.
Oh, okay.
No, not you. What did you think I meant?
Whom, honey? I just thought you really hated my Ken Jeong impression.
How old are you?
How old are you again? Gosh, review this with some class, asshole.
No, that's not what I meant.
No, when he shows up in this, doing his typical shit,
yeah.
I'm like, can we go back to like 20 years ago when this role would have been played by Phil Hartman? whether it's Jingle All the Way or Small Soldiers. Oh, God. But he's in it briefly, thankfully. But
and they're like, does he have kids? And they're like, no, he just really likes kid stuff.
When it gets to the third act of this movie, then it just sort of turned into what I've seen before. Then it kind of just turned into the first movie again. And they tried doing that stupid thing they do in a sequel like this, where like all the events in the first movie was a cover-up. No one remembers it. Like, fuck you! Bullshit! Don't fucking Transformers 2 my ass with this shit. So they do that shit, whatever. And then... yeah, it turns into another movie like this where all these monsters come out of the books, they're running through the street, they're tearing up property, people are running and screaming. Now, granted, there are some clever shots in there, like basically taking the Halloween decorations and making them turn against the people, like the balloon spider and the witches and some of the pumpkins as well. It's like, all
the
right,
gummy bears.
Oh, that part was cool, where the gummy bears come to life and they're like sort of like the Blob, but with gummy bears.
Yeah,
like,
that was cute.
I enjoyed that. There were little things with that I liked, but overall, I was sitting there going like, it's not that this third act is bad necessarily. Like, I've seen this kind of thing done worse, but I was like, this isn't really
overwhelmed. It
doesn't set itself apart from things that do it better. I've seen 100 movies that do this ever since, the 50s. We've had movies like this. Every generation grows up with a movie like this. There's gonna be kids that grow up with Goosebumps, me with Gremlins, you probably Jumanji more.
Yeah, I grew up with Jumanji.
Yeah, so every generation certainly has a movie like that, and some are still fun. There's a reason why it's a formula that works and keeps kind of going. This one, I was watching it going, this is kind of just, okay, not only is this another one of these movies, and it's not really setting itself apart from any of that, it's just kind of doing that again, but it's also a sequel in which the first one did it better than this.
The girl, I don't know how old she was in the back behind us, she was laughing, having a fun time, and kids are... Especially young kids will have fun with this, I think.
No, I think so too, but, and it's where I kind of come down on my recommendation on this. It's not that I think that this movie's bad, I just sort of thought, I was like, okay, it exists. It's really just kind of going through the motions. It's doing the bare minimum to be passable. Mm-hmm. Now, normally I would probably be like, look, it's that time of year. If you got kids... Sure, why not? Mm-hmm. The kids will probably enjoy it. But House with a Clock on Its Walls is also playing right now, which is another Halloween-themed movie that does have Jack Black in it. And it's a lot better than this movie is. Now, I thought the kid acting was better in this than in House with a Clock in Its Walls. Actually, some of the special effects I thought were better in this than in House with a Clock in Its Walls. But everything else, though... That was a way better movie than this, and...
Kids recognize those characters, though, from Goosebumps.
They do, but the other movie was a better movie than this, though. Like, I'm not saying kids won't enjoy this if you go to see it, but if you're having to choose between the two, the other movie's way better. Even if you're not a kid and you just want, like, kind of a seasonal movie to go see, there's a lot better movies playing now than this. If you want it more from the kids' family angle, House of the Clock in Its Walls is way better than this. If you're looking for other genres of horror, you can go see a slasher movie, which is Hellfest, which I like better than this. Halloween is coming up next week, the new Halloween movie. I'm just mean in general.
Okay.
Like that's what I said. Like,
well, you would take a child to see
no
those
no
movies.
that's why I said a second ago, if you're not a kid and you're just looking for something.
No, I was saying you would take a child to see those.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's just me, the cool parent.
Nope.
No, but like beyond that, like the new Halloween movies next week, Hellfest I like better than this. The Nun wasn't great, but it had good atmosphere. I'll give it that.
I like this better than The Nun.
I might have too. The Nun did have really solid atmosphere.
This was more fun. I mean, well, The Nun wasn't trying to be fun, I guess, but it was just... I had more fun with this one. The Nun was kind of... I don't know, it was just like Marilyn Manson-looking nun, just scaring people.
Roaming around, scaring people and shit. Yeah, I might have enjoyed this better. Right.
Slappy's creepier.
Overall, I think you could just wait and rent this movie, honestly.
If you have kids and you just want to get them out of the house and you just really want them to be entertained.
If that's the case, go see House of the Clock on Its Walls.
Yeah, I see that, but sometimes you run out of things to do, so
sure.
If you want to see another movie, then sure. If you like Goosebumps like I do, I would say wait till it's on TV.
It feel like it's
felt
not
like
that
a
it's
TV movie
it does.
sometimes.
It really, really does. It's not that the movie's bad, but it does feel like this is just being made because the first one made money. And I realize that's why sequels get made, but look, that doesn't mean just put out whatever and just like, all right, well, people went to go see the first one here. Let's do this. Let's just kind of go through the motions again.
It didn't feel too lazy, though, because it did have practical effects. It did have some nice Halloween atmosphere to it.
It does,
And the
but
jokes were funny sometimes.
Sometimes.
And Jack Black was funny, and I like seeing Slappy, you know, and so, I don't know.
yeah, but when
Sometimes
it
that's
gets though to the third act and even some other stuff in the movie, like it's not as good as the first movie is. It doesn't even feel as fresh as the first movie does. Like it doesn't really.
Oh no, it doesn't.
Like yeah, there was fun. Like I would have preferred if the whole movie kind of was just about the doll just invading these people's lives. Like
That would've been
I would have instead of just doing like oh monsters attacking the city again. Like
Yeah.
if you want a you can do clever sequels to movies like this. Gremlins 2 is a really, really smart and clever movie.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I still prefer the first one, but there's a lot of people who do prefer the second one. And I get it. I do. The second one is a really, really clever movie. That does something really fresh with making a sequel out of it. This isn't that, really. Like, I don't think this movie's bad, but just rent it, really. Like,
If you don't really know anything about Goosebumps or don't really care,
then that's hilarious if you're going to see this movie.
I wish they had the evil sponge in this, or at least in one of them.
SpongeBob?
Yeah, I wish they had SpongeBob. More SpongeBob in the movie would make it. No, the book. Do you remember the one with the evil sponge? And it came from beneath the kitchen sink, and like what killed it was love.
Nice.
That was my favorite one. It's so lame. I
read the one. I think it's the first one. The one where the girl moves to the town and everything causes a shadow. Like there's trees. Because sun can't touch them or something like that. So they live on this street where I can't remember, but like there were just kind of trees covering everywhere, so everyone's always in shadow. And I think they were dead, maybe? I can't remember. It's been over 20 years. Then there was the one I read where the scientist created like that swamp monster thing.
Oh, I was thinking of the egg one.
No, I don't. Maybe that is what I'm thinking of.
Like it's like a blob or something, or like there's an egg.
I thought it was like some swamp thing, like creature.
There's a couple with scientists.
Yeah, it's the one with the scientist in it.
I like the say cheese and die, and or not say say cheese.
Say cheese and die.
Yeah, and careful what you wish for.
And Night of the Living Dummy, of course.
You know, I couldn't watch that. Like, that used to terrify me, the dummy. Like, the Twilight Zone ventriloquist dummy one really scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
So when I watched the dummy with Slappy, like the Goosebumps one, those freaked me out.
Did you like Child's Play?
I didn't watch that until I was a lot older. Not because I didn't want to, I just wasn't allowed to.
Oh, yeah, when I first saw Child's Play, it was when the third one was new. So, 91, 92.
There's kind of a similar plot with Slappy in one of the in the Goosebumps show, where it's Slappy, Night of the Living Dummy, maybe part 3. I can't remember, but he has a bride doll. And it's really weird because he's like, no, I don't want the doll, I want her. And it's this little girl.
Yeah.
And he wants to marry this like 8-year-old girl. And they have like this fight, and you just like don't see the hands, but they're just like fighting each other. It's so lame, but I love it. God, I love that show.
They should call them the sequels Dawn of the Dummy and Day of the Dummy. But that's just me. No, Mike.
If you had
I wish if I had created for no reason whatsoever.
This 36-year-old man
I
gets
wish
it.
she did. Yeah, this guy gets it. I wish they did like in Child's Play 3 when It's in a military school, and he needs to transfer his soul into the black kid that's in there, and he goes, I can't believe it, Chucky's gonna be a brother. I need to show you those movies.
I saw like one of them, and I was expecting it to be scarier.
The first one's kind of scary.
Maybe I'm thinking of it.
They get sillier after that, but I like a majority of
This
them.
is silly.
The first one's still. I rewatch. I mean, I've seen the first one a lot, but like I watch it every now and then. The first one, as far as it being like kind of intense and a little scary, it still is in parts.
Yeah.
The sequels get a little sillier, but intentionally so. They're still fun. Like that haunted house sequence in part 3 is amazing. Where he's chasing him through a haunted house that has like real weapons in it.
Yeah.
We should probably get out of here. But any final thoughts about this film?
Just watch the first one if you're a fan, like I am of the series.
I mean, yeah, if you're a big fan of the series, you'll probably see this movie anyway. It's not as good as the first movie is. It's whatever. Like, honestly,
Wait for it to come on TV or
yeah,
something.
wait and watch this on TV or rent it or something. You don't need to see this in theaters. There's a lot of other options if you're looking for this kind of movie. All right. Tomorrow, Dave and Sarah and I think the three of us are going to Bad Times at the El Royale.
Dave's going.
Yeah, he wants to see it too. I don't know if it'll be all three of us reviewing it, but yeah, he wants to go too. So I think they were looking into like finding a sitter or something. Cause
Maybe I'll come. Maybe I'll come.
Well, all right.
All four
If
of
we
us
can find
in the car.
if we can find a sitter for Lloyd, which oh my God, we gotta get home.
Oh no, Lloyd! He's having a party.
He's who Sarah and Dave get to babysit.
Er.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Later.